All right, we are back. John, I'm excited, dude. It's been a while. Haven't seen you.
Yeah, and now we've been knocking them out today.
We're catching up for all that time, everything that's going on here at Premier Virtual. But before we get started, we got a phenomenal guest here today. What's really exciting, John, is I was on their podcast months ago. So they have a phenomenal podcast, Sweat Equity, and I just want to be like them one day, right? They have a great chemistry, the two of them. So we'll jump into that. Quick shout out to our sponsors with leadershipbooks.com and everything that they are doing for our two books. O Media with Cindy and her PR, the Owl Lab, just getting people connected and finding experts, right? When you want that question, call on the Owl Lab. Think Big websites, and always, of course, Premier Virtual that we record out of their studio. So let's get started. We are here. Law Smith, excited to have you on. Man, there's so many things. I'm excited to hear about you because last time we talked about me, I'm excited to hear about your story. Law, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, I have the number one comedy / business podcast in the world because no one else is in the genre. Sweat Equity. I'm going to have a high noon if you don't mind. And
oh, absolutely.
I forgot my nicotine gums in, so it's going to look like I have a dip in because I just put it down there. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm a fractional CMO, and I own my own marketing agency meets business advisory called Tokabaga. So that's awesome. And then single dad. I'm a DILF. I like long walks on the beach. Taking the dog to the dog park. Those kind of simple things.
When I was single, right? People said, "Where's the best place to meet somebody?" Now, this is a long time ago. This was pre-internet. But I was like, man, wherever, right? Grocery stores, right? Especially during football season. You go to the grocery store because all those girls, they're not watching football.
Yeah. Comedy actually plays very well to that if you crush. So okay. That's always nice. But I seem to get the 3-time divorcee, freckly, bosomed, the one who's ready to go and is a little older than I am. That seems to be my crowd after a show. But yeah, I can't spit game at Whole Foods. That's tough. I have noticed though.
You got to know your veggies.
Well, you have to be aware. I've noticed that I can put on the AirPods almost all the time, and I kind of obsessively listen to podcasts. And when I'm doing kind of menial tasks, it's active listening, passive activity kind of stuff. And some people are listening to this, probably doing their laundry or, going for a jog or something. But it's one of those things that I've noticed when I'm a little bit more present, those kind of female opportunities they happen a lot more. So that's something I've kind of noticed lately. I don't know if that's something y'all have experienced.
I go to the gym. I'm happily engaged, going to be married in a few months. But you go to the gym and every single person has iPods or headphones on. There's no conversations going on. I mean, to do a pickup game in the gym now, you got to be strong because you got to get them to take off those AirPods. So how do you do that?
I work out at I call it the insecurity gym. It's a lot of fitness models and like power lifters and stuff, and they're all trying to escape their 13-year-old self. Right. I work out at Powerhouse, the Southern Mecca, as they call it.
Yeah.
I tell my kids I'm the logo, which is a guy bending a barbell.
Yeah.
And they kind of half believe me.
That's you? I know.
Awesome. I'm like, that was me before kids. And they're like, no, it's not. Kind of like that. By the way, I was trying to explain this. I was trying to work this out on stage last night. How would you explain bagpipes to a 5-year-old girl?
Bagpipes to a 5-year-old girl. Something you blow in that makes noise.
I don't think you ever need to, though.
I was trying to do it on the drive home, doing my dad duty, and I was like, this is really tough. It's like the best I got to was if an octopus was a musical instrument and its legs were recorders. That's all I could get to.
So that's the next joke, right? You're trying to figure that. Kind of goes into that. Have you ever had a joke on stage that just bombed?
All the time.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And The tough part is like when you know something's there, and that, you know, it's kind of like any market research. You have to get enough sample size.
Yeah.
Like, I worked out this joke the other night, and a friend of mine was like, "It's not going to work because no one knows who he is." I've been saying I want, or a lot of people won't know who he is. You're going to have to explain who he is. And I was like, I don't think so. I think this guy's pretty famous. And I've been talking about, I want Deion Sanders to run for president. I think he would really, now it has to be cowboy hat, militant head coach Deion Sanders.
Cherry curls?
No. I'm talking now. Present
Okay.
Deion, missing a couple toes, Deion Sanders.
Yeah, he's a badass, man. The guy's a badass.
The dude, I mean, if you've seen him coaching, he brought his guys from I think Jackson State over to Colorado, and then the kids that were at Colorado were like, "This is unfair," and he goes, "Well, there's the door, and I'll pack your bags for you," or something like that. And I was like,
he told them in the first meeting,
right?
Use the transfer portal.
Yeah.
We're going to use it. Come in. You should use it.
Now the cowboy hat part is very key to his presidential part, because that's going to get one side. I'm not going to say which side that is, but it'll be one side. And I think we already got the other side pretty locked up because he's Deion.
Yeah.
But how bad this really just started because I take edibles after 6 p.m. because it makes me a fun parent, and I'll paint toenails and stuff, no problem.
Okay.
You want to play some Legos? I'll help you build it. But what's it called? I was like, how nice would that be to have like Commander Sanders, like just a lot of puns coming out, like primetime POTUS, stuff like that.
Yeah,
you got this. You got this down.
I'm a Deion peon, man. I'm Forrest Camp.
You're there. You're like, I want to be his campaign manager. You're calling him up, Deion. Let's go.
Yeah, and so that was something I argued with a friend of mine who's a comic about it, and then I was like, I don't know. In my gut, I feel like I don't have to explain him.
Yeah,
and
no.
Went on stage the other night, and it crushed. But you know, there's a lot of failure. And that's good. Failure is a good thing, though.
You learn, right? I talk about it a lot, right? Is every time you fail at something, you fail at a joke, you fail at being a parent on one thing, you learn real quick, right? I got 2 young kids. John's got kids, right? You learn pretty quick, right? When you fail at something. Yeah, but you got to know, like in your gut sometimes, like your intuition has to go over your analytical mind sometimes. And a lot of marketing is like that.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out behaviors of people to kind of, you can do a lot of research and get there, but if you're good at marketing, you have this intuition of behaviors of people. And so, you know, it's like Jimmy Buffett just passed away. And if I see someone in a crowd, especially in Florida, and they're wearing one of those goofy fishing shirts when they're not fishing, you know, the ones with the flap in the back where you can get air in your back, like a Columbia or a Tommy Bahama or whatever. I know that guy probably loves Jimmy Buffett, but I always go to the wife. If I can go from A to C without B, that's the best way to kind of, I like doing a lot of crowd work and improv on stage. And so I'll go to the wife and I'll go, how much do you hate Jimmy Buffett? And she's like, it's always the wife is like, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I was like, then I'll go to the husband and I'll go, did you know that?
No, she never told me.
Just kind of opened up something really interesting, you know?
I really respect comics. I love the mind of a comic. I mean, it's so different than how anyone else sees the world. That's why you can do what you do. Like I grew up though, Richard Pryor, right? Eddie Murphy, Robin Williams, when they could say anything on stage and people would laugh. How hard is it now to say things without pissing somebody off and all that other stuff that now is politically incorrect? I mean, you're at a comedy show. My thing is, if you pay to go to a comedy show, everything goes, right? But you're on stage. That's got to be, you know, tell me how you deal with that right now.
I mean, I'm not that much different in person than on stage. It's like how podcasts are kind of a heightened conversation. It's like 10-20% more of yourself a little bit. That's kind of how I look at it. But like,
that's cool.
Going back to the failure rate, like I got to see Robin Williams in the Comedy Store like 2010. work out an hour, and he ate it the whole time, the whole hour.
Wow.
And all the comics in the Comedy Store, because there's 3 rooms in there, and like you didn't know that many comics were in there. They just all went into the original room where he's working on stuff, and it was like, we were like, man, this is not good. But he, and he knew it too. Yeah. So seeing that kind of stuff, like seeing some of the greats eat it, even he's a legend, right? And he was still doing it. He had a lot.
I've seen him just do terrible too, and he just goes on his weird. He was definitely very different, but he'll just keep going. Like he won't. He doesn't care. He won't stop. He'll just keep going.
Do you get to the point where you're like, oh, listen, I know there's going to be some that just aren't going to work, and I'm just going to keep going?
Well, I try to do a thing like if I'm in a show, let's call it a comedy club show. I'll do a lot of like random one-off bars. Breweries have a lot of comedy shows now.
Yeah.
But like I'll do I like to walk in the back of the room and kind of feel the energy. It's a weird thing. It's like almost like Gladiator, where he's touching the weeds, as he's walking through. I kind of there's a weird palpable kind of vibe you can get out of a lot of crowds. But I try not to watch anybody, so I kind of try to get in, get out, and because my memory is not great, I don't want to accidentally riff someone else's stuff.
Does that
so he's not, John, it's interesting he said that, right? He wants to see the energy. It's like when you and I were on a call earlier today about the song we're putting together. Mm-hmm. Like I could see you as listening to the beat. You're like, okay, you're singing it in your head as you're listening to the beat, and I'm like, okay, well, this sounds good. But you, right, your mind is in music, it's there. Law's mind is in comedy, so he goes in and gets that little thing.
But you can just feel it's an energy thing.
Yeah.
And going back to kind of dating and stuff, it's like that's kind of that's my litmus test. It's like, do they have good energy? That's like the number one thing. Because I'll be in my head a lot. I don't need another I'm optimistic. I'm an aggressive optimist, but internally I'll have a lot of like, I'll F that kind of thought. So
you don't need that second voice saying those things in your head. Yeah,
right. Cool. Overall, I'm optimistic, but I'll have a lot of throughout the day. I'll have a lot of Larry David grumpy thoughts. So
gotcha. John, you touched on this in Law, right? Comedy's changed over the years, right? Everybody is so sensitive and anything now. Like, what do you think of that? What's your take on that?
You got to weed through the BS on that, right?
Shock doesn't really work anymore. Like if you're doing Sam Kinison, like that was a certain time, right?
Yeah.
Comedy like music and film really like it evolved. Same with art, just kind of visual art there's different eras, and I kind of see it with comedy. It just happens a little bit faster. As far as the woke stuff, I find more people that are going to comedy shows. I've always felt like this. I'm at a barbecue and I got the loudest voice because I don't normally have one. I need a microphone. But I've always kind of had that kind of mindset doing stand-up, and then remembering that this is a place where people want to hear things they can't talk about at home or at work, right? So a lot of it is a release. It's just like anything. You're hearing sensationalism of people, complaining about stuff, but what do we have left? I mean, I'm a big First Amendment person. I think that makes our country what it is. I think that the ability to disagree is huge, but if anybody, I get giddy if I have a heckler. So I'm like, oh, this will be fun because they run out of steam. I got the mic. I'm not going to lose to them.
What's the craziest thing anybody's ever done heckled you on stage?
Oh, there's a video you can find on YouTube. I was down in Fort Myers, Florida, the hotbed of comedy where my career was taken off. This is like 10 years ago. And this guy's so drunk, he's not even in the show. He's walking through. It's in a restaurant that had a separate event space or something they would do stand-up in. And this big fat guy's wasted, and he's like walking through. I didn't know he wasn't sitting in the show because you can't see everybody in the audience. And so he keeps walking through and just talking shit. And I was like, all right, well, look, bud, I don't care about this. This isn't going to make my career. So I was just having fun. I was like, why don't you come on stage and do the joke? And he comes on and just totally, he sounded like he was on Percocets and a bunch of margaritas, and he just totally, and it was like, but it was still one of the wilder things. It was just really funny, you know.
That's awesome. You'd see some. What do you think of Tosh? Are you a Tosh fan?
I love Tosh, and I have a weird connection to Tosh. Tosh is from Florida.
Yep.
His mom and my mom were sorority sisters at the University of Florida. They're Delta Gammas.
Okay.
And apparently Tosh, this is what my mom tells me. Apparently Tosh calls his mom after every set he does. And I was like, well, don't expect that. She's like,
that's a non-starter.
She's like, I don't want you to. I'm asleep by 8. What are you talking about? I was like,
yeah.
we mutually assured
that you're not going to. I was a big Tosh fan. I went to his last show here in Fort Lauderdale, and I was like, I wasn't impressed. I thought he went backwards. Just wasn't. I don't know what it was. But my wife was even like, every time he comes to Florida, we go see him, but I don't know. I don't think he was edgy enough, and I think he was kind of holding off, but I wasn't, it was like, maybe I won't go see him next time.
Was it at a casino?
It was at the Hard Rock.
Yeah, it's different rules there. They might have had constraints in his contract, but it's really hard to top the Edge. Like,
yeah,
been edgy for 25 years. It's really hard to keep in that game.
I saw Fluffy, that guy, Iglesias.
Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah, so he does his hour at the Hard Rock, and like to your point, then he goes, okay, now we're gonna have some fun, and he stayed on for more than another hour, and then and he was hilarious, and it was like stuff that you never see on TV and things like that. So he gave us like his special version of everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. I never seen something like that before, but I didn't even know there was contractual kind of like things you can and can't do. That's pretty crazy.
Casinos are very weird like that, from my understanding. I don't do many of them, but I definitely, it'll be right before you go on stage at my level. Someone will get in my ear right before I go on stage and go, "Oh, you can't cuss." I'm like, I'm in a fucking casino. What?
Yeah.
Like, what if wait, let me get this straight. You guys will take everybody's pension through penny slots, but if I talk about a woman's gash, this is over. Like, I don't.
You're screwing everybody in this casino, and I can't say that.
I did not realize.
The house wins on that, by the way.
the house wins. Yeah, I can imagine. Would they pull you right off the stage?
No, but I've had my mic cut and stuff like that.
Okay.
Not paid.
How did they? Right, mic cut. What did they do? Right, you're at a stage. You're saying something. What'd you say that they cut the mic?
Ooh, it's a while ago. No, it wasn't even that bad. It was something, I think it was about, I used to have a bit about, it was either a pubic hairdo bit that, was like 24, just silly stuff like that, where I had a comb over and just going over that. Or I don't know. One time recently was like a story about me getting a vasectomy. And, they tell you before you get your vasectomy, you got to shave for them, which is, I guess you're supposed to do that not right before you leave the house to go get the procedure. And I was in a hurry, and I think I was talking about how, like, you ever vacuum and get a rug stuck in the vacuum, like a bath mat. It was kind of like that, where it just
didn't turn out to
and I was like, oh my God, bleeding before I got to the procedure.
Dude, I love that, and I love that you can talk about that. I joke about that a lot. Is me and a bunch of my buddies all went to the same doctor to get it done. So when I called them, I was like, "Hey, I'm one of the tailgate guys. We're gonna all come in that morning. We're gonna tailgate out in the parking lot before we go, and then we're all gonna get
That's
stepped
amazing.
and then let our wives do all the work for the next week." And the doctor loved us, right? Because he was like, there was 5 of us, and we just had a good time with them, right? And it was, I think anything, right? You're having a good time with it, and you just and now it's a little more open, right? I remember when that happened a long time ago, it was like a secret. Now I'm like, ain't no secret anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I put it out there pretty quickly. Any woman I'm seeing, because I'm 39. The age group of women I'm talking to, some of them want to have kids, and I'm like, well, I felt like I was 2-0 with my kids. I don't need any more. I was like, I'd rather just put all my energy focus on them being good.
Yeah.
I want them to be comedians because I met their mom. She was a comic, so. Chris Rock says his whole thing is to keep his daughter off the stripper pole. My thing is to keep my kids off the microphone pole.
Yeah.
Man, if you're up there, my parents are still together. I grew up in a kind of idyllic kind of childhood, but I am the aberration for a lot of comics. There's not a lot up there that don't have some kind of traumatic stuff. So if my kids are up there, I really probably messed up.
Yeah, like I don't want them. So let's talk about the marketing side of it. Obviously, you can make us laugh here easily, but your marketing, right? You got your company Tobago. Tell us
Tocobaga.
Tocobaga. Sorry,
it was the Native American tribe that was in the Tampa Bay area before white guys came in. But
okay, before they took it over.
And we were talking right before we started about we dodged a hurricane. They say Tampa Bay area is blessed by the Tocobaga tribe to not get hit by a hurricane, because we haven't had a direct hit in recorded history. So
yeah,
really,
yeah. And they named Tampa. The name Tampa is a word from the Calusa language that means sticks of fire. So we're the lightning capital of the world, hence the Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team. So Tampa means sticks of fire in their language, likely because lightning hit brush when it was dry season.
Gotcha. And I'm a big fan. I lived in Tampa for 2 years. I've traveled a lot for work. One of my favorite pizza joints in the entire country is there, and one of my favorite dive bars in the entire country is in Tampa.
Wait, pizza. So my biggest thing I lament is New York people coming here and going, there's no good bagels, there's no good pizza places here.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like, go on fucking Yelp and find them. Like,
yeah.
they're around. They're not every 5 feet. It's not
right.
Yeah, we're not a dense area. Like, you're gonna have to drive to find that slice. What's the pizza spot? I think
Eddie and Sam's. Yeah,
and I just sent a friend that moved down here, and she was like, it's like a B+. And I'm like, what do you want? Like, what?
They ship
I'm not your Anthony Bourdain. Like, go figure it out. Like,
yeah.
And then they complain the water's not as good here. I'm like, oh, I didn't know everybody in New York City is a fucking like a Brita certified water management. Like,
that's the stupidest thing. That's the stupidest thing I do.
And then if you ask a follow-up question, this is like what I ask my super liberal friends. It's kind of a follow-up question. I'll go like, I'm apolitical. I hate both sides. But I'll go, what did Trump, other than him being kind of a pig, like personality wise, what did he do that was really that wrong? And no one, they'll say the same thing I just told him as a qualifier. I don't care about his personality. I care about action. Right.
Yeah.
I go, and I think he knows what he's doing. He's like a magician. He's going, look over here. I'm going to distract you. And then he delegated out to smart people to handle stuff, I think. But it's like, I go, this is back to the bagels and pizza guys from New York and any Florida city. I'll go, what makes that water so good? Like, is it the Hudson River that's so good? Because I heard you can't swim in that.
Yeah.
And then they got nothing. They go, they'll divert. They won't answer you. I'm a son of an attorney. I've got kind of an attorney's contrarian kind of logic. Like, I can see both sides of an argument really quickly. And I love asking those kind of questions because they can't do it. marketing is the same thing. I really think philosophically, a lot of it breaks down to what your feeling is versus what is, right? So we were talking about gut and your intuition. You know, marketing is it's a lot of it's hypothesis testing. It's the scientific method. But a lot of it, when you come into a situation with a lot of clients, what do they think is going on? Who do they think their clients are, or customers are, or patient groups are, versus who they actually are? And most of the time, they don't know themselves. You have to go backwards and go all the way to the beginning with goal setting, then their brand. Who are you? What do you do? Why are you better? What's your value adds? You know, where do people get the product or service? How do they get it? And a lot of them can't. They should have military-like callback with that, and they don't.
Very true. Yeah. Or why do they even do what they do? That's always a tough one when you ask a client. They know what they do, how they do it, but a lot of times you can't get them to give you a why, and that's a
yeah. Usually you got to get to the founder and go, why'd you start this? And if they give you a story about, well, it's lucrative, then I'm like, we're gonna have to have a secondary story.
That's right. It's not.
How do you choose, right? Oh, go ahead, John.
I was just saying, do you ever weave, how do you like comedy? How do you ever kind of try to weave it into when it makes sense, any messaging or anything? Because I think, obviously people can definitely connect. Marketing is about connecting. And when you have it's hard to kind of like that balance of like, you're trying to tell something, but how do you weave in something that also includes comedy? You ever try to take that angle?
Depends on the brand. So I have a lot of law firms as clients. And so, that's going to be very kind of corporate-y. It's going to be saccharine sweet, and they have a lot of rules they have to follow, depending on the state they're in too.
I see a guy like with the billboard, I think it's Morgan & Morgan, and he's like, size does matter. The size of the law firm, but he just put size does matter. And it's kind of, obviously it's tongue in cheek, but it's different, and that's a little bit funny.
They're the Coca-Cola. They're Coca-Cola of firms. They're the biggest firm in the country, country, and they have their own. They're so big. They have their own marketing agency. They own. I mean, technically, it's a sister company under a holdings corp and all that stuff.
Just to get
But they're so big. They have their own huge marketing agency that's basically an in-house agency. So they and it's, I always compare them to Coca-Cola because they pretty much everybody knows they exist in every market they're in, right? But Coca-Cola still pays for the polar bears during Christmas time, and it's just that it's for them. It's top of mind. Their personal injury, so they need to be the first thing you think about when you get in a car wreck. And a lot of marketing is, especially in services, that it needs to be top of mind strategy. So they're doing whatever they can within the constraints that they have, right?
Yeah, that's true. Law has a lot of restrictions. You can't just say anything with law.
They can be more exotic than they are, but a lot of them tend to self-regulate a little bit harsher than they need. The size matters thing. It caught your eye. It got there. I mean. The through line is dick jokes will always play.
I like that.
I'm sure you got that, right? I'm sure you got a few of those. You ever what's your go-to strategy when you sit down with a client? Say you kind of know going in, here's my thought of where I want to take the marketing, or do you kind of go in as kind of a blank, listen to them, and then kind of put a strategy together?
Always have to listen. When I was younger in the game, I tried to put my stank on it, and I found out after a while I was just trying to prove to a lot of people I knew what I was talking about. And that I skipped very vital steps of like, you need to listen to them in the beginning, because they're gonna. And also I kept the world as me doing stand-up as a moonlighting career, and my marketing career kind of like. I kind of kept them in different buckets. And then once I told them, hey, I'm a comedian at night, so if I use word metaphors, just try to roll with me. If I'm kind of going in a roundabout way, just, if you don't understand what I'm saying, just let me know. And that really opened up a conversation to be a lot more frank. And a lot of people open up, tell me like way more personal stuff than I wouldn't even ask them. Not that I really use that, but I am a big, my buddy who owns a IT company called Scout IT. His name is Nate Seinel. And he calls me a business therapist, because that first meeting, he sat with me. We refer a lot of business to each other. And he sat in on some meetings, and he was like, this guy's never talked to me about X, Y, and Z. And he did it in the first 5 minutes. And it's just like, well, when you're an entrepreneur, I work with small, medium businesses too. So I'm not working in the corporate or enterprise level a lot. Occasionally we'll get tasked with something, but I try to stick in the small, medium sector that they're focusing on growth. They need a growth period. I know that sounds kind of intuitive to a lot of people listening. That's like, well, every business needs to grow. And it's like, well, really, it's like kind of like it's done in periods. Either it's a seasonal thing or it's a year. I usually see a lot of small businesses go, this is a growth year. The next year is going to be, more of a cutting cost operation style year. And so it's really about listening first, in that therapy kind of mindset. If you've ever gone to therapy, that first session, they're just trying to get you, they'll ask 4 questions. You'll probably talk the whole time. Mm-hmm. And most people that I talk to are founders, or they're the president of their company, or both. And they will kind of tell you, I'm trying to find pain points and why they got there.
Right.
And then try to go, okay, what are your goals? Because most of them, 99% of businesses I've experienced, and I've helped about 1,000 businesses improve. At this point, 99% of them don't have a business plan, not even an outline, which is wild. And so that's why we're kind of a business advisory, because that was my background, was writing business plans. Hmm. And most people don't.
Did you get I still got my business plan. That's the book I spent $5,000 on, and I gave it to my mentor team, and they're like, not one investor wants to look at this. And I'm like,
well, yeah, plan. Because a lot of people think you write plans for getting funding or investors or partners, and it's really, you should at least have an outline of. I always mess the acronym up, but the SMART goals acronym. I do it every year between Christmas and New Year's. I do my own goal setting for the next year, and I'll put about 20, and five or six will be business kind of related. Most people don't do that. Most people don't think that way. And y'all have been very successful what you do. I know it's probably in your head, but to formally lay it out and communicate when you're going at scale, that's a big factor. So I think kind of, if we're going for a theme of this episode, the communication part that's really lacking in society as a whole. I feel like stand-ups really made me almost kind of an advanced level of that, because I can figure out how to explain anything, and I focus more on digital, but don't ignore offline. But marketing wise, mostly in the digital online world, and I can usually find a through line to kind of figure out how to explain what's going on to any client, no matter how low tech they are.
And I love that you said SMART goals. That's what I used to train on, right? So you had your SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic time frame. And then you had personal and professional, right? And you had to have 5 short-term, 5 long-term in both of those. So you would have 20 goals that you would have, right? What are my short-term? Here's what I need to do in the next couple weeks, right? And having those goals. And John is big on habits, right? That's what he's got, stuff on, and he's talking. So I love that you do that, right? Especially with clients too, is because a lot of them don't know, right? A lot of people don't know. And they say, I got taught early in my sales career, a goal is not a goal unless it's wrote down, right? A goal is just a wish. If you say, hey, I want to get a new car, what kind of car, right? And this is how they sat me down, like, okay, Steve, you want a new car? Yes, I want a new car, right? My dream car at the time was the SL 500 Mercedes. They're like, okay, what color is it? Black. What size rims? Right? What color is the interior? What motor do you have? Right? You sat in one.
The biggest thing is a date on it. I'm going to get that car for 2 years from now. I'm going to figure out how to get that car.
Yep. Set a date. Yep.
Right.
But you got to have those, right? And things change, right? I've had some goals in my life, right? And one of them I just hit, and I had a goal that, right, if this happened, I wanted this certain car. I'm now a dad with 2 kids, and it didn't make sense to have that car.
Right.
You know, so it kind of, I changed my goal because my life had changed. So I love, right? I think goals are very, very important. So I'm glad to hear. Yeah. I'm not the only person out there doing it.
Well, off frame, I've got a poster I made. I want to clear $200,000 cash in the year. And so, you know, after expenses, all that stuff. So that I have that, I print it out, put it right where I see it every day. Awesome. Right when I get up, right when I walk in the front door, I can see it. And then I have one that's kind of the opposite, which is, it's not a goal one, but it is a reminder in general. Steve Martin has his book, Born Standing Up. And it's a good kind of like.
What was the name of it?
Born Standing Up.
Born Standing Up. Okay.
Yeah. I started doing stand-up when I was 19, and my dad's friend heard about it. His name's Jim Cornwell. Shout out if he ever listening. He has his own State Farm agency locally, and he dropped off the book, and it was a really good book. And the real takeaway is be undeniably good. If you're undeniably good, no one can take anything from you. And that works on a lot of levels, right? Yeah. And so I have that poster. I just made it, printed it, and put it on the wall, and that's like a good reminder. And then I point to my kids. They don't get that. I'm just talking about their behavior day to day. Like, you need to be undeniably good to your dad.
Yeah. I'm gonna send that to my kids. You know, how do you like this, right? Kids are a blessing and a challenge.
Oh yeah,
all in itself, right? I could spend hours talking about the kids, but
it reflects back at you a lot, right? They say a lot of men get depressed when you have your first kid because you go, "Oh, I'm at halftime," right? I don't know if you two had that. I didn't really have it because I heard about this phenomenon, but a lot of men get really depressed when they have their first kid because they go, "Oh man, my life's on the other side of the hill now."
Not me. I was 20.
You were 20. Yeah.
I wasn't even.
You were still well behind the ears. I was almost 40 when I had my kids, so I kind of waited, and I was like, because I said I would never get married till I was 40. I was, you know, again, I said in Tampa, right, going to the Hub, right, favorite dive bar in the country.
We're famous for strip clubs. I'll leave those out.
You know, I was never a big fan of those. So, but
not either. I went when I was 14. I had it out of my system by the time I went to college. I was like,
I was done with those. You know,
I'd bring friends home from Auburn, and they want to go to Seven Seas and Mons Venus and all these places. I'm like, yeah, y'all go. I'll meet up with y'all later. I don't.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I was done by 17.
I feel like throwing away my money.
I went to my first strip club at 14. It's called Seven Seas. There's a restaurant there now. I won't go to it because the walls have stories. And I couldn't have looked more like a kid. I had braces. I had white, like, you know, Hanes t-shirt on, Umbros, Adidas Samba shoes, and a cast. I had a cast. I couldn't have looked more like a kid. And they're like, you got to switch your seat. You're good.
You're good.
First thing I saw was a pregnant lady in the shower.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if this is for me. Do I tip for two?
Yeah.
So,
the cream of the crop at that club.
There's a place like that in Atlanta. What was it called?
Cheetah Lounge.
Not Cheetah, but there was a place that they had, like, now granted, I'm almost 50, you know, they were like 50 years old, like this, and you're like, what is going on here? And I can't.
I've been to it. I thought it was Cheetah, but I can't. I've definitely.
No, it's like in the bottom of a basement of a.
That's called good marketing.
They got it, but you go there and people aren't even going to look at that, right? They're going because it's a dingy little bar. So, well, all right. Well, Law, we appreciate your time today. We're gonna play one last little game, man. I feel like I could talk to you forever, making me laugh over here. When's your next show? Do you ever get outside of the Tampa area or?
Yeah, I'm laying low a little bit and I'm just doing reps around town because I'm gonna film something at the end of the year. I'm gonna produce
Okay.
it.
Nice.
I'll put it on YouTube and probably annoy the shit out of y'all.
Good. I'd love to be able to see that go in. I don't see too many comedians. We went, like I said, saw Tosh, wanted to see that kid, Matt Rife. He seems like he's pretty funny out there, but I don't, that's not something that we do regularly.
You should. I always tell everybody, what's your hit rate on going to see a movie? Like, it's probably like, probably a clip that it's good. I'd say like it's a good 80-90% hit rate almost any show you go to. That's at a club or something.
I just gotta get my wife. I actually just told her, I said, okay, here's where we got the rest of the year. We're gonna start. I go every month, as soon as we're done with date night, I want you to plan the next one, right? And not even plan what we're gonna do, right? I can plan it, but
I was gonna say, I like how you delegated that out. That
yeah,
nice.
No, plan the date, right? Because she has to get the sitter, right? Plan out with our sitter to say, okay, here's the date. So now we can know, are we going to go? A guy just went to a Smashing Pumpkins concert with her. I knew one song. I'm not a Smashing Pumpkins fan. I didn't know who they were. So we're there and she's like, you're a good sport. I sat on my phone the whole time and
you are one of those entrepreneurial guys that's so focused on the business side. You're like, who's the Smashing Pumpkins again? I missed the whole 90s. I don't know.
Like this is my jam. This is all this.
He thought it was a food. He thought it was a food show.
Yellow hot chili something.
Yellow hot chili.
I'm like, listen, no, I like a little more hip hop or a little country, maybe a little mix. So
Nas and Wu-Tang are on tour right now.
Yeah. So
Wu-Tang.
we'll see. So
I could do Triumph for y'all if you want right now. It's 9 minutes long. I can acapella it.
Just go off. We're actually creating a song. John and I are creating a song right now. So I created the song on ChatGTP because I just went to a leadership conference. And they made us come up with we had to find our theme song based on our strength finders, right? So mine was like futuristic and a few other ones. So everybody's like looking at Google to find a theme song. And I went right to ChatGTP and I said, give me the best song. And then I didn't like what they had. I said, create me a song with my strengths. So it made this song. So now we're making a beat out of it. We're going to, John or whoever is going to do a little hip hop to it, get a girl to come in and sing the chorus, all based because they were like, find your theme song. So we're going to make a walkout song all based off of.
For me, this is contrarian logic. You'll see half of me is like, that sounds like the most unromantic way to make a song. The other half of me goes all creative is iterative. So that's whether you're doing it in a kind of recipe kind of way. There's nothing's really cut from whole cloth anyway. So it might just be a good cheat code.
Put a little beat in there and have some fun with it. That's the way I look at everything, right? Is how can we have some fun with it, with everything that we're doing in life, with the kids, with the family, with everything, right? Have some fun, go out there.
Make it happen. No BS.
All right, so Law, we're gonna end it like we always do here at Weeding Through the BS. We're gonna give you 2 truths and a lie. John is up on me by 2 right now, with an asterisk, but we won't go into that. But he's up on me by 2. So give us 3 statements, 2 truths, 1 lie. We got to see if we can pick who's the better BS detector.
Let's see.
All right. Yeah,
I think this is gonna be a hard one.
Y'all preface this ahead of time, and I still haven't thought of anything before we started. I would say all right, how about this? I've opened for Ron White, I've opened for Jim Gaffigan, and I've opened for Jackie Mason.
All right, so we got to say which one you didn't open. That's a good one right there, right?
I try to keep
Googling, John. No Googling.
Oh no, I know Ron White. I haven't heard much. Gaffigan, I'm not into at all. But Jackie Mason, that's a while ago.
That's Caddyshack 2. If anybody's listening.
Yeah, I know Jackie Mason.
I'm gonna take a wild guess. The one I don't know is Jim Gaffigan.
And I'll say Jackie. I'll say Jackie Mason. I'm not putting that many years on you.
I've opened for Jackie Mason.
It's
the worst gig I've ever done.
Okay.
I think he was about 81 and I was 25.
Yeah, that's why I went with that. I didn't think you had the time to meet up with him there, but okay.
And the house lights were up. It was at 5 o'clock on a Saturday in a theater. And my dad and his buddies came, and they're right in the front row, and I could see them. And they're like, "Whoa, he moved to California to do this kind of thing." I've opened for Ron White. I haven't opened for Gaffigan, but I have done 2 shows with him where he gave me an attaboy on a bit I used to do about air mattresses.
Awesome.
And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, but all were cool to me. Jackie Mason, I was like, oh, this crowd's pretty dead, and they're really old. They're a bunch of blue hairs. He gets up and murders. And I'm like, I'm gonna go kill myself in the dressing room.
Is there any comedian that you ever worked with that was just like, you're like, I would never want to work with them again?
I'm sure. I've been doing this 15 years now, so I've got 3 gray pubes. I'm getting a little long in the tooth. So I'm sure there's a few, but you really only focus on the ones that are really cool to you when you're young. Like Lonnie Love. She's on one of those lady talk shows like the Chew or the Talk. I'll always love her unconditionally forever now, because she was a headliner that used to give me a tip when I opened for her, and no one does that. Okay. And that's just cool. And we couldn't be more opposite on stage, and she's just cool like that. And she was always like very motherly when I would open for her. So
that's good, right? You remember the good ones, you forget about the bad ones.
And Bert Kreischer has always been great to me. Like from Tampa, we went to the same high school. He's about 12 years older than me, but he's always been a good dude to me, and I'm so excited to see him blowing up. Nice. He's the guy who takes his shirt off, if you don't know.
Dude, yeah, that guy. I think he's over here, or he was just over here, right? He talks about the Russian mob.
Yeah, I got to see him work on that for years. Yeah. I opened for him for years when he would come into the Tampa Bay area. Yeah, and he's been nothing but great for me. Anytime I need advice, he's always been there. And so I can't. You always remember those are touchstone people in your life.
Yeah, paying it forward. Awesome. Always nice to have that.
Well, that's good. Well, Law, we appreciate it, my man. We'll let you know once we're getting ready to release this. Like I said, we kind of batch them, and then we release them out. We'll let you know. And again, let us know once you do the recording. We'd love to see you live.
Yeah, we'll get you all on Sweat Equity at some point soon.
Sounds good. All right, Law, great to see you again.
All right, y'all. Fun time.
All right,
take care, bud.